Coaching. We know there was a big staff upheaval last year, but how about this year? Any changes?
Now, really, not personnel-wise, the biggest change is that Mike Elko, who was an outstanding defensive coordinator here before he left to be the head coach at Duke, and now he's back as the head coach. And after last season, he said, he's going to take on the more responsibility with the defense and running the defense. He says he's going to call the defense. And Jay Bateman, who was the defense coordinator, still the defense coordinator, but he's not going to call the plays as much. And he's going to focus more on the role of the linebackers coach. And so Elko just has this knack of calling up the right blitzes at the right time and coming from all different directions and disguising them and all those kind of things. So there's a lot of optimism, increased optimism just for that, just to know that Mike's going to be in charge of the defense. Makes Aggies feel better about what could be.
Yeah, I always find it kind of funny, and I don't know. I guess I should probably do research on this because it could make a really good story if it actually is the way it seems, or at least I perceive it. And that is how often, like when an offensive play caller, an offensive coordinator that's running up scores, I'm going to hire that guy, and then he comes to the team, and obviously he's going to call the offense. That's why they hired him. It's his offense. But the defensive guy, that doesn't always come with the package. It's like, well, yes, sometimes they'll call it, but it's like half the time, no, I'm just head coach. I'm going to let someone else call the defense. So I don't know. I don't know if you've seen that as well. It just happened here at Elko. So I see that more often. I just never, ever see an offensive guy get a job and it's the first he goes, I'm not calling this. I see that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, that's for sure. But
anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, I think Elko taking over the defense is a positive step for the Aggies.
Yes, I do too. So that should be really cool. That should really help. Okay, give me some breakthrough players, Olin. I don't know if it's too early yet. Again, you got spring practice. You saw what happened last year with some of the younger players that might be ready to take that next step this season. So do you have like a few players in mind that you think the fans should be keeping an eye on?
Well, the first guy that they're hoping that they break through is Marcel Reed. He came in last year. He wasn't supposed to be the starter. When Connor Wigman got hurt, he took over and started for 3 games. They won all 3. He brought a more of a exciting element because he'll take off and run and get some yards that way. But then when Connor got healthy, Marcel went back to the sideline until they played LSU in the second half, and they put him in because the offense was sputtering, and they scored on 5 straight possessions, and he ran, I think, 3 touchdowns in that game. He only threw 2 passes, completed them both, but he ran all over them. And so there's a lot of excitement about Marcel, and he needs to break out and make that step from, hey, he was a good option, a good guy to bring in when you were struggling. And he needs to show that he can break out and be a really sound quarterback for the entire season. There's no question about his running ability. Runs the zone read probably better than any quarterback I've seen here since Trevor Knight about 2016. Throws well. Tends to sometimes makes questionable decisions at times. I think the biggest thing that he has to do is be better at reading the defenses and finding the guy that's open. I remember playing against Texas. He had Noah Thomas, who's now at Georgia, just wide open for what would have been an easy touchdown, and he just didn't see him. But that comes with experience. Again, he's he was a redshirt freshman that had barely played, and then was never expected to play and got thrust into action. And so the hope is that, and I know he's put in a lot of work on the offseason with A&M coaches and with personal coaches. And his dad, is a former college football coach at Tennessee State. So I'm sure he's getting a lot of pointers at home too. And but he's putting in a lot of work. So we'll see. I have talked to a lot of quarterbacks. I'm sure you have too, and 100% of them tell me I was much better in the second year than I was the first. So
Oh yeah.
they're
So,
hoping for that from Marcel.
you do believe though that he has the ability. It's all there.
No question.
It's just the experience. That's all it is.
No question.
Okay.
I saw him make amazing plays last year, and then there were some times he missed plays, and you would be so frustrated because he missed them. And you know what? That's what comes with playing a freshman quarterback.
Yep. And you get the good, you get the bad, but now he's got the whole offseason as the number one guy, getting all the number one reps. And so, yes, definitely expecting a big bounce back in a way, bounce forward,
Bounce forward. Yeah.
bounce forward for Marcel Reed. Okay, give me somebody else, either on offense or defense.
Well, I don't know if he's broken out here, but Cassius Howell. I mean, he had about 4 sacks last year, and as a backup defensive end. Look, A&M's got to replace a whole bunch of people on the defensive line that were all taken in the draft. 3 of them were. So he's a key figure, and probably is going to lead that pass rush. Ask where's the pass rush going to come from with all those guys that have gone to the NFL? Well, it probably starts with him, and so I think now he was. I think he led he was at Bowling Green before he got here. And I think he led the MAC in sacks. He had 10 or 11 back in 2023. So they need him to break out here. You know, maybe he's broken out before, but they need him to break out here and
SEC, yeah.
Yeah, and be a be a not just a good player, but a star player. There's a lot of optimism. I know I was talking to one of their coaches on the other side of the ball in the spring, and they just said, "Look, don't even don't even think about last year. I'm telling you right now. This is what the guy told me. I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a problem." So hopefully that's the case. If it is, that would address one of the more glaring issues that A&M appears to have going into this season.
Okay, because yeah, you see it right there that a couple, actually 3 players that they grabbed in on the transfer portal this offseason are ticketed for some significant playing time up front. So that is something definitely to keep an eye on. What do you think then would be? Is there, because you mentioned the secondary? Give me when the team gets ready to line up, say against Notre Dame, and you might see a little bit of bounce, a little bit of competition in week 1. You never know what UTSA is going to give you. They've been a pretty good program lately, but seems to be overly matched whenever they have to step up in these types of games. But still, when this happens and A&M's out there on the field, what do you think you're going to be the most concerned with? What's going to make you the most nervous that you think that A&M has to do a much better job of?
Well, once again, pass coverage. When your coach goes on record and saying we cannot call a zone defense because our guys just don't get it, and they're not understanding basic zone concepts, and that started to become apparent. I think maybe they hit it a while, but if you ever went back and looked at the numbers that they started giving up in November, some in October, but really in November, it's kind of like all the other coaches that's been scouting them probably started figuring it out and started lighting them up. So I think, there's some worry, there's some concern about where the pass rush is going to come from, and the run defense was kind of hit and miss. Sometimes
Okay.
it was very inconsistent, but that pass defense was, especially after November, was torched. And so I think that's the greatest area of concern. Now, there's some reasons. There's some reasons to feel good about it. Will Lee comes back. He was an all SEC corner. So they feel good about that corner. And I mentioned Tyreek Chappelle coming back as a nickel from injury. They brought in a couple of transfers, Julian Humphrey from Georgia and Jordan Shaw from Washington. And they think those guys can help them upgrade. Eli Ricks, who was a transfer from Alabama last year at corner, he had a tough year. He had a nice interception against Arkansas, but other than that, he struggled a lot. But the word is coming from coaches is as he's really figured some things out. So we'll see. They've got more competition back there. I'll say this too: the safety position's got to get better. Their safeties were often. Uh, out of position, and sometimes when they were in position, they just didn't make plays on the ball. Got to get
Okay.
better.
Because yeah, I was, that's really what I was also going to ask you regarding the pass defense was at least do they have a lot of those guys back, and
A
it's
lot of
just
guys
now a
back.
matter of getting coached up.
Yeah,
Second year, another third year. So that's the positive, right? Is that a
right.
lot of these guys now will hopefully take that next step.
Dalton Brooks was his first year as a starting safety last year, had some ups and downs. Bryce Anderson, a guy that I thought was going to be a star here at one time, I thought he had quite frankly, a bad year. Now, we found out later he was injured, playing hurt with a shoulder problem. And
Okay.
okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but in that case, he's got to get healthy and he's got to play better.
Okay. So that's a guy then to keep an eye on. If he gets off to a good start, that's a good sign. That maybe that's what the problem was the injury last year.
Maybe. I don't know if that
Maybe.
explains everything,
Yeah,
but
of
like I
course.
said,
Yeah.
let's keep staying open minded and give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
If he doesn't, they've got other guys there that they can look at, uh, and they will. Guys, Marcus Ratcliffe, who played a lot, he was transferred last year from San Diego State, and some younger guys too. But the bottom line is they just have to play better at safety.
Okay. Now, what about the players to keep an eye on? And let's just start on defense because York is he one of the top guys that might be somebody to keep an eye on that could even take a bigger step?
Well, the hope is, he's been a starter. He's a junior now. He was a surprise starter as a true freshman. Got here, just turned everybody's heads. Last year, I thought he was a solid player. Okay, that's nice, but by the time you get to be a junior and you're a team captain, all those things, I think you need to be more than a solid player. And I mean, he makes plays, but sometimes he's been known to overrun some or get caught up in the blocking when and not fill the right gaps. So um, he's a good player. They're hoping that he can take the step to great player. They were better last year at linebacker when Scooby Williams was out there, a transfer from Florida, when he
Okay.
was out there with him. But
Okay.
Scooby was kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries. When he was playing alongside Torrin York, they were better. So
Okay.
if they can keep both of those guys healthy, maybe they can take a step forward at linebacker too.
Okay. And what about on offense? You've already mentioned, of course, the quarterback. We talked about him, talked about some of those receiver transfers. You mentioned Moss. And let's talk about that running back room. So is somebody, I guess Moss would be it, but I know Owens also has talent. And of course, EJ Smith is still here. I think we're
Yeah.
all kind of wondering whether or not there's another gear there for EJ. But are they looking at Moss and or Owens as, especially now with Reed and that zone read game that they could be playing, that's really where the offense is going to run with Reed and getting that running game going with Moss and Owens?
Yeah, look, like I said, Reed was all SEC running back last year. Was on his way to 1,000-yard season as a hard runner. You don't tackle him with an arm, and usually you don't tackle him with one guy. Uh, But Reuben Owens is a guy that might have been the starter last year had he not gotten hurt. I'm not saying it's definite that he would have been, but I think Reuben Owens is the kind of guy that makes you miss, whereas Le'Veon's the kind of guy just try to run through a tackle.
Okay.
So Reuben has a lot more
Shake and bake.
shake and bake to him, and Le'Veon just is going to bowl you over. So they're obviously very excited to have Ruben back. I think he's more of a. I think the biggest difference is a big play typically for Le'Veon's a 20-yard run. He probably got hit at the line of scrimmage,
Yeah.
bounced off a tackle.
Yeah.
Somebody hit him about 5 yards later, and he got out of that one, and then got hit in the secondary by two guys and dragged him another 5 yards and finished off with 20, 25-yard gain. That's Le'Veon. uh, uh, Reuben Owens is, he's the home run hitter. He's the guy that has that ability to, whether it be catching the ball or just taking it on a handoff, to really make a big play. I'm not saying he has that Devon A. Chain type speed that we saw here a few years ago,
Yeah.
but I think he's more of he's probably their, if he's healthy and all indications are he is, he's their greatest as a running back, big play threat.
And is there a player in the receiving game outside of, we talked about the transfers? Is there someone else? I know you mentioned the number 2 tight end, but is there like a definite number 1? I guess it's Concepcion, but
Yeah,
is Bussy, or is there some other holdover
right.
to keep an eye on?
I'll tell you, they're really excited about a couple of guys who are, going to be redshirt freshmen, Ashton Bethel Roman and Isaiah Williams. But Terry Bussey is kind of the X factor. You
Okay.
know, he didn't catch a lot of passes last year, but he wasn't supposed to play receiver. In fact, he's never been a receiver. He's from a town of about, I don't know, less than 1,000 in East Texas near the Louisiana border called Timpson. And he was the quarterback there, played quarterback and cornerback as they do in the small schools. So he came here as has never played receiver, and they put him at corner. He was going to be
Oh,
a quarterback. But then there was injuries at receiver, and they're looking around and say, what are our best options? Hey, let's move this kid over from corner to receiver because we need some options. And he actually, I mean, he had some nice plays. So he's the X factor. Is he going to be able to? How much growth is he going to show into that position? He's got plenty of speed. He's got nice size, not great size, but nice size, but plenty of speed and a lot of ability. So could he turn into that guy that's your deep threat? Certainly the potential is there. If he continues to grow at receiver, I think anything's possible with him.
and then keep an eye also on those redshirt freshmen.
Yeah, both of those
Okay.
guys have been getting the reviews on them. Coaches have been raving about them, but I think Bussey's like I said, I think he's the X factor to that offense.
Okay. 17 receptions, 216 through the air. Not bad in your first year as a college football wide receiver, after playing quarterback in high school and also corner was the first gig. So that's interesting. We'll definitely keep an eye on Bussy, because if the 3 of those guys can get going, that could make things a lot easier for Reed. A couple more things before I let you go. Offensive line, how's it looking?
Last year was one of the best in the SEC. They A&M was second in the SEC in rushing yards and fourth in the SEC in sacks allowed. Now they did have trouble picking up 4th and 1, and that was a big issue in their loss to South Carolina and their loss to Texas. So they got to get better there. But everybody's back. In fact, they also get Mark Naboo back from injury. Mark Naboo started the season; he won the job as a starting center, and then he got hurt in the first game against Notre Dame, and he was
Okay.
out for the year. So they're going to have him back, presumably as the starter at center, along with, quite frankly, 3 NFL prospects and guards: Amaj Reed Adams and Chase Basantes, and left tackle Trey Zune. And they have 2 guys back at right tackle to compete there: Demetrius Crownover and Ruben Fothery, and there's some depth there. So they're going to be in their second year under offensive line coach Adam Cushing. So there's every reason to think that A&M is going to have one of the better offensive lines in the SEC, maybe in the country again this year. They've gotten a little bit bigger too. Strength and conditioning coach Tommy Moffitt got on them to make them a little bit bigger and hopefully stronger. So when they get in those 4th and shorts, they're going to have maybe a higher percentage of success.
And you mentioned Naboo. So do you think that will be, like right now we have him as a backup, and I understand why, since he was injured.
Mhm.
So do you, if you had a guess, one way or the other, you think he's going to start reclaiming the
Yeah.
job?
Like I said, Coley Floyd did a nice job last year, but I think Naboo's the better player. He started I think 11 games at guard the previous year,
Okay.
and felt like center that center would be his best position. And I just think that he's a big, strong kid, like most offensive linemen are, but he's might be bigger and stronger than most of them. So I think he won that job last year, so I'd expect him to win it again.
Okay. And how's the kicking game? And again, a lot of close games possible again. You never know. So,
Yeah,
how's the kicking game in general?
it's solid. Randy Bond, I think. I don't have his percentages. I think he made about 83% last year. He was a good, he's reliable. Now he does have 50-yard range, but like most kickers, you're gonna be holding your breath when he's kicking that long. But he's a good, solid kicker. I don't know that he's gonna be all SEC or all American or anything like that, but you
Okay.
could do a lot worse.
Okay.
Tyler White, the punter, is a guy that I've seen him kick it 60 yards and out of bounds. And I've seen him kick them 35, right? So they want to see more. We all want to see more consistency out of him. There's no doubt that he has a big leg. Uh, and last year was his first year to be the,
Yeah.
the, the punter. So I don't know if this is something you want to brag about, but A&M has a great history of punters. And he's going to be he could be the next quote great one if he finds some consistency.
Okay. Well, nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, 12th man. That's there's I know there's a lot to do with the rabid fan base, but it also has to do with special teams and
Right.
how do you think is how has special teams been for this program lately? Has it is it one of those things where yeah, there's been a lot of great special teams units here over time, but yeah, it's the past. We really haven't had one of those units in a while. Or is it up to speed? Is it? Do you think they could really maybe even impact a game or two based on what you've seen lately?
They're getting better. 2 years ago, before Elko got here, I think they had three, maybe four field goals blocked. I
Oh,
mean,
that's not good.
how often do you see that?
Yeah, that's
Uh,
not good.
yeah, and their coverage teams were very lax. They got better in coverage last year again. I don't know if Randy had one blocked last year. I don't recall right off the top of my head. So obviously they got better there. I think they put more emphasis on it. They have a special teams coach, which they didn't before. One guy might be coaching the punt
Oh
coverage. The
yeah.
other guy's going to, they did it that way. I think it at least in my experience of covering A&M, I've covered Texas, I've covered other teams back in my career. Seems that the teams that actually have a special teams coach benefit greatly from
Yeah.
that.
Have better special teams,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Imagine that. Who would have thought that would be possible?